Okay, as promised, this is the second installment talking about the refurbished Model 1891-30 Muzzle Protector rifles. This particular refurb, you can see, was manufactured in 1939 at the Tula Arsenal. That star right there is the Tula Arsenal marking. You also can see that this rifle has the MO mark on it. Right there, that's MO mark, with a secondary date of 1949. This is a variation that turns up amongst the refurbs from time to time. Nobody really has any documentation of what that MO mark means. Some will say it's Ministry of the Interior. Others will say it's just maybe a camp guard or something like that. Nobody really knows for sure, and the Russians aren't talking to us about it. So if somebody tells you they know for sure, ask for documentation. Otherwise, it's probably just bullshit. Now, you can see this particular refurb, and you know there's no refurb by that nice red shellac on there. Is in a post-war stock, brand new replacement very likely. You can see it's got a toe splice here. These toe splices were added either to preserve a short stock blank or because there was a crack at a very weak spot on the Muzzle stock where the stock screw is right there. The stock screw is very large, and you notice that crack is lined up perfectly with it. Well, that repair rather. We have a filled-in knot right there. Oh, and right here we have the refurbished wood mark. That wood was placed on there to indicate that the wood had been refurbished or replaced. And up top here we have some minor sins in the shellac over here, some runs and whatnot. And you can see the nice coating of black paint on that butt plate. That was done to preserve the shitty bluing jobs the Soviets occasionally did. And you can see here up front on these refurb stocks, oh, by the way, note the full sling slot protector on there. Also a mark of a late war or post-war stock on these refurbs. We have that nice machined cut out there to get the bands off. And the band spring is not milled steel like the older ones were. This one is spring steel and much easier to deal with, and they do a better job of keeping the bands in place. They're an upgrade. You can see how that forward sling slot protector there is all nicely steel, not just bare wood. Again, the spring band. See how that holds the band very securely? That thing is not going to move once it's on there like that, which is why when I bust, which I occasionally unfortunately do, a milled band spring, I like to replace it with these style springs. Now you might note how I have the bayonet on here. Soviet doctrine had it that the bayonet was to be mounted on the weapon at all times. They did not issue scabbards. That was something the Finns did, but not the Soviets. So what they would do, if they had to walk into a building, instead of making holes in the ceiling and tearing flags off the walls every time they tried to do that, they would simply mount the bayonet backwards on the weapon like that. That's how they would carry it. And you can see that nice red shellac on there is a little bit darker in the fore end than it is on the buttstock. I guess they just slapped it on a little bit thicker there. This one, of course, has stamped matching numbers on the bolts. You see how they've polished the bolt. That's another mark of refurb. Sometimes you'll see one where the bolt is gray and kind of pitted. That's just because the bolt was old when they used it and it had been field used a lot and they couldn't get it all off. But this one's nicely polished. Nicely shined up. You can see some marks on there. It's got a 1 in a circle. What that means, nobody knows. Most of the small markings on these are simply unknown. We don't know what they mean. And the Russians are not in the habit of talking about small arms production, even if it's 60 years ago. So we'll probably never know what a lot of these little things mean on here. You can see that this is being made before the war, how nicely finished the receiver is. Typical. It's low wall right here. See that they haven't made the, well, they haven't speeded up production as they would in 1941. 1939, the war had not quite started for the Soviet Union. They did invade Poland, but that really didn't cost them much to do it. And later in 39, they would invade Finland. And on the bottom here, we have a line-out number. Now, if I can get the camera to focus on that, probably can't, but we'll try. I guess it doesn't want to. Anyway, you can see it pretty much there. The old serial number from whatever this part was originally on, whatever rifle it was originally on, is all lined out. And they stamped the new serial number right next to it. Typical commie laziness. They did that sometimes where they could get away with it, which is down here. No one looks down there, I guess. Now, another interesting thing about this is the sling. This particular sling, you can see, is very dark. It's almost black, although it's actually very dark blue. It's called a navy sling. You can see what they've done here. On the black dog collar, they have taken green paint and painted over the rivets and the buckles. Now, anybody that's ever seen one of the crates these refurbished rifles come in will know that that is exactly the same shade of green. And look how they did it when it was literally on, all buckled and everything. They just splattered it right on there. They didn't care if it got on the leather. Quickie job. Did it here too. And you note that this had been right there at the time they painted it. You can see the overpaint on it. Real nice job. Typical of the communist work. This is what they did sometimes. Just splattered it on there. But it's an interesting sling, and like I said, it's actually made for the M44. It's sized for the M44, and that's where it's going to be eventually when I get around to it. Right now I'm using it just for demonstration purposes. I thought you'd like to see that. Now, that covers everything about the MO, I think, and the type of refurbs you might see with the later stock on them. There was something else I was going to talk about, and I can't. Oh yes, the cleaning kit. Excuse me while I get that. There we go. Alright, we're all familiar with that from the last video, so let's put that away. Let's look at some of the other goodies that come in here. This is an older kit. No, we don't need any of that. The little brush doesn't belong with the communist kit anyway. Okay. That screw doesn't belong there either. This piece here, this punch, is the T-handle for the cleaning rod. We'll get to that in a second. Here we have a chamber brush there. Not every kit comes with that. This one does because it's an older kit. Another multi-tool or two in there. These are the other two pieces that form the T-handle on the cleaning rod. And this, of course, right here, is the muzzle protector. Now, I do not recommend using the issue cleaning kits that come with these because these things are all heavy-duty ordnance steel, just like the barrel's made from. And what that does is cause wear when you use them. And it's one of the leading causes from improper use of wear to the muzzles of these rifles. Alright, now I gotta get the cleaning rod out here. And we'll show you how to put that on. Okay, here's your cleaning rod. Note that there is a hole there in the end. Okay, kind of awkward to do this with one hand on the camera. Let's see now. Let's put aside the muzzle protector for the moment. We're going to take this right there. Using the wide end, we're going to slide it down there. So we come to the end there, you'll see it, the hole lines up just like that. Then we're going to take that little punch, stick it in there. Voila! We have a T-handle. Then we take the muzzle protector, slide it over like that. And now I got to get the bayonet off of there without stabbing myself. Always a good thing. Okay. You would of course have the jag on there at this point, but we're not doing that just yet because I left it inside. But there we go. Bingo. Now that is how the Soviets clean the weapon. Just like that. See how the muzzle protector slips right over there? Got the T-handle to hold it with. And that explains that. And I think that about covers everything for now. Oh, I was going to show a few of the tiny little marks that are on this stock. Just little extra marks you'll find on pretty much any of these stocks on the refurbs. Nobody knows, again, what they mean. It's all a mystery. They're all inspector stamps of one type or another. Who knows what? One's probably for shellac, another one for fit and finish, maybe final inspection. Who knows? But they're on all the rifles. Some have more than others. And nobody really knows what they mean. And I was also going to show you right here, the second, this one of these two boxes here. That's your metal refurbishment stamp. Usually it's a box with a vertical line. This is a box with an X. I'm sure it means exactly the same thing. And that pretty much covers it. That is the 1939 Tula. Oh, just lost the focus. We don't have much light out here today. Real dismal day. The 39 Tula MO.